how to grow your own firewood. Well, there isn't anything to it really. It just grows by itself. I grew this. This was an acacia deobata. A lot of firewood there. Look at the big trunk. Acacia deobata, very fast growing tree. This is our forest. And of course in a forest you have all sorts of trees growing up. We started with nothing on these blocks. There was nothing growing here at all. But if you just plant things, after about 5 years you'll have all dead branches. You'll get the odd dead tree, of course. In any forest you've got death and birth. You'll have new seedlings going in where the dead ones are put. So you'll have dead trees. This tree lived a good few years and then it died. About 10 years I think. And then it died, but it left all that wood behind. Even on a small quarter-acre block you can grow lots of your own firewood if you want firewood. There's another old log from that same tree. A big old log. It's all firewood. We don't have a fire. I mean, we don't need a fire, but it's all there if we ever need firewood. It's good to have a big reserve, isn't it? Just in case. Perfectly good firewood. Just from trees, just from lopping old branches and just the old trees as they come to the end of their lives. So you see, these are smaller branches here, but you'll always have branches in a forest, and it's potential firewood. You could cook lots of meals with that, couldn't you? You could. It's just piled up branches. Here's a very old Angelina plum tree. There it is, look. But it's got a big dead branch here. Look at that big long dead branch there. It's all perfectly good firewood. Perfectly good firewood. Perfectly good firewood. Could be chopped up with a chainsaw or by hand. They have little electric chainsaws now for people on smaller blocks, don't they? Look at all that lovely wood. It's all free, isn't it? Beautiful timber. It could be used to cook meals or to heat water or to give you warmth in winter. And it doesn't really take very long in the bigger picture of things to grow, I mean. There's an old log there. Look how much warmth that would give off. Very big log. I'll put my hand in the picture so you know how big it is. And look at this here. This is all just a pile of old trees. Perfectly good firewood for an emergency. Not that we have an emergency, but it's a good stockpile of firewood, isn't it? A huge stockpile. We could have taken it to the rubbish tip or something, but it will decompose on its own slowly. Now what's that? That's a piece of old plum tree, that is. All sorts of trees here. That one there is a lucerne tree, very fast growing tree. If you want some firewood in just about 3 years probably to get to that size. Short-lived tree, yes, you can grow short-lived trees like lucerne trees and wattle trees if you wanted your own firewood. But there's always firewood. There's always wood here. And yes, there's some fungi there. There's always the process of decomposition going on. This pile of wood will the logs on the bottom will eventually decompose first, and the pile look, there's all fungi there too, all white fungi. Oops. But the pile will decompose slowly. But while it's there, and it's perfectly good firewood and good for a rainy day. Look at it all, so much of it. There's a pile of sticks. Of course, a pile of sticks could be used for kindling or to start fires with. You know, if you're cooking or something, you could cook with a lot of that too if you wanted a meal or something. I like to leave the sticks for the birds because they like to nest in there. Lizards like to go in there too. and snakes and things. They like those stick piles. As long as there's no danger of fire, you can near your house or anything, you can have stick piles, and that will decompose slowly. The stick piles go down after a time. But that is perfectly good, burnable, combustible material. There's lots of wood there. Lots of wood. Old privet sticks and things can be perfectly good firewood. You could cook a meal with that wood. It's perfectly good wood for cooking. As I said, in any forest there's always death and birth. And there's a dead, what's that? That's a dead wattle tree. Look at the thick trunk down there, quite a thick trunk, lots of firewood. We'll pull that down and it can be added to the firewood stockpile. Perfectly good firewood, that. And it's good for a rainy day. Here's another dead wattle tree. Must be just about time to pull it down too. That's lots and lots of firewood there. Of course, we're always planting new trees as well. But that's a lot of firewood if one needed the firewood. I don't need it just at this point in time. But it's good to have. There's another dead wattle tree. Perfectly good firewood. Nice thick trunk. You could make lots of small logs out of that for a fire. Perfectly good. And it really doesn't take that long to grow these things. There's a privet. Look at all that lovely firewood on the privet tree. Perfectly good firewood. Nice thick logs, easy to cut too. It's just a common privet. It's all firewood for a rainy day. Wonderful. I think it's called biomass by the permaculture people. There's a dead satsuma plum tree over there. Must pull it down too. It's getting quite old. Lots of wood there, and a thick trunk lower down. Here's an old piece of apple tree. Dead wood on this apple tree. That can be cut and used for firewood. Perfectly good. A lot of people don't realise they've got so much wood around them that can be used for heating and for warmth. Now that's a dead mulberry tree. Time to chop it up, I think, this year. Time to chop it up. It was a dead mulberry tree, that one. Died of old age. That's all weedy privet in there. That privet can be cut out and replaced with something else. Lots of timber there. Lots and lots of timber. It's from China, and I can imagine all the people in China would have done lots of cooking over the centuries with privet wood because it's so fast growing, so easy to collect too. There's a dead cherry tree from years and years ago. This is a privet that can be cut down if one needed the firewood. Look, I just can hardly wrap one's hand around it. They grow very quickly. Weed trees, I suppose. There's dead wood over there. Cut out the dead wood if you want to. Look at all that firewood over there. Lots of the stuff. Perfectly good firewood. And gum trees are easy to grow. Look how big it is. Bigger than I am. Much bigger than I am. Much, much bigger, and it was just grown from a tiny seedling. I grew it from a tiny seedling. You can do all this too and have your very own firewood. You really can. And you really ought. And that log is one of our favourite seats, that one. That's one of our favourite seats. So here's our forest on this glorious spring day, and it's got lots of firewood in it, and we're chopping some of that firewood out today. Lots of firewood, lots of fun too, lots of branches, and it really doesn't take that long to grow your own firewood.